Are we good, tech team? Good to go? All right, welcome back everyone. And I do hope you enjoyed your lunchtime and some good networking during the lunch break. This morning we officially opened the 5th edition of the WorldPtX Summit. If you just joined us right now this afternoon, welcome to you. We heard inspiring addresses from Her Excellency Minister Leila Ben Ali, our 4 co-hosts and the private sector. Then we dived straight into 3 high-level plenaries, exploring how to harmonize roadmaps, how to scale ecosystems, and to secure offtake. A big thank you once again to all our distinguished speakers for being part of the conversation. Now, this afternoon, we have 4 more exciting panels waiting for you. Each will be addressing a critical building block of the PTX revolution. Panel 4, in just a few seconds, will look at financing, the tools and the innovations needed to scale up projects. Panel 5 will dive into ammonia and e-fuels as the future of feedstocks and energy carriers. Panel 6 will focus on the infrastructure backbone, water, grids, storage. And panel 7 will examine market access enablers, regulation, certification, and legal frameworks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please note that at 5 p.m. this afternoon, we are privileged to have with us His Excellency Minister Riyad Mazzour, Minister of Investment and Trade. So please make sure to be with us in the room, as we don't want you to miss his special address. Now, the next sessions will brilliantly be moderated by Jan, Cornelius, Jawad, and Firdaus, so you're all in very good hands. As for me, I will be recording podcast episode just next door, so please stay tuned for those. Again, the Visionaries PTX podcast is available on the main platforms of this forum, on YouTube, LinkedIn, and all the platforms, so the conversation is to be followed over there. Of course, we will meet later to close this day together and for the evening cocktail at the restaurant. Now, please, let's warmly welcome together Jan Raipar for the next panel. Let's give her a round of applause, and over to you, Ran.
Is it possible to get a microphone, or is she still there? I will do it like this. Good afternoon, dear participants, dear guests. Welcome to the session, to the panel I'm inviting you to listen to, the financing the revolution of green hydrogen. Thank you to Irizen that I'm allowed and honored to moderate the session. Last year, I was up on the panel. This year, I'm directly promoted to moderate the session. I would like to welcome my colleagues, which I'm working closely with on an almost daily basis from the financial institutions. I would like to invite Meriam Laraishi to the stage, Audrey Givon, Ashraf Tarsim, Amin Iba, and my colleague Ian Lachmund. Meriam Larishi is currently serving as the Head of Development and Advisory at CDG Capital. Since July 2020, she has been a member of the bank's executive committee. She structured equity and debt capital market operations for institutional clients. Ms. Audrey Givon is an experienced banker at the European Investment Bank, where she leads operations in Morocco. As a country lead for Morocco, she manages the bank portfolio in the country, appraisal and negotiation of new investments. My colleague Ashram Tarsim is the director of the African Development Bank in Morocco. He is managing the bank's engagement in support of the country's socio-economic development agenda. Amin Iba is an investment banker with more than 15 years' experience in corporate finance, capital markets, and renewable energy advisory. Currently, he is the founder and managing director of Viridian Capital, specialized in early-stage developing, bridging global investors with local opportunities. And I'm also happy to say hello to my colleague Ian Lachmuth. He is a senior portfolio manager at KfW Development based in Frankfurt, having gained extensive professional experience in areas of banking, and in a more global role, he manages KfW's P2X Development Fund and P2X platform. So I would like to start with the first question. I would like to address this question to Mariam from CDG Capital. How do you characterize the current global landscape of the sector? And is the market ramp up really underway?
Thank you, Jane. First of all, I would like to thank the organization committee for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here with you today to share some insights concerning the Power-to-X market. To answer your question, Jane, I would like to say that the Power-to-X market landscape can be described as highly dynamic. It is strategically fragmented, and it's in a phase of accelerated project development and policy formation. It's actually, we are moving from pilot scale demonstration to first wave of industrial scale. As you know, the Power-to-X market is quite spread among different regions, and each region has its own infrastructure maturity, its own policy framework, its own energy strategy expansion, which makes and drive different market dynamic depending on the regions. In Europe, for instance, the Power-to-X market is driven by the EU Green Deal, as well as with the REPower EU plan, which is mainly emphasized on the decarbonization and energy security, with a great support of political support to reach the neutral carbon economy. And in this region, European region, as you know, the development costs are very high, which leads to the dual strategy that relies both on domestic developing domestic capacities, as well as relying on much on export. In the US markets, there is another market dynamic. It's more an incentive-driven market. Since the implementation of the Inflation Reduction Rate, the energy provider now have a great benefit of the credit tax production, and this credit tax, makes the destination very attractive for investors. For the Asian market, especially China, it's booming markets thanks to their expansion energy strategy, as well as the maturity of their industrial ecosystem. They have also a real ramp up on the development of electrolyzer manufacturing ecosystem, which make now that China is leading, with very important hydrogen projects. So different markets, different dynamics, but they all have in common, this strategic dilemma, chicken and egg. We have the buyers who are hesitant to engage themselves in long-term contract because they don't have enough visibility of the stability of the pricing and the stability of the cost competitiveness of the supply, while you have the investors who need, to have this visibility to long-term offtake contract before engaging their finance. So globally, we can say that the market is quite dynamic. We have a lot of projects that were announced. We are moving many projects now are moving to the feed phase. We are moving, from the paper to the construction, but the markets as a whole is still facing many challenges, and I think we are going to talk about them right after.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for giving an overview about the market situation in the different parts of the world. I would like to move to the next question. I would like to ask Amin to take that question. What are the main financial barriers preventing Power-to-X projects from reaching commercial scale, and how can these financial barriers be addressed?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, that's a very interesting question. When we talk about financing Power-to-X at industrial scale, I think the barriers or the financial barriers are not mysterious. They fall into recurring categories that we all know, and that any project holder would have. So I would talk about some of them, not all of them, because it would take a long time. So the first one I see is and we have talked about it in the other panels, but I will re-talk about it, is the revenue risk, which is for me the most important one. Right now, what we see is that offtake agreements are at the level of letter of intents, MOUs. So they might look good on paper, but they don't give price certainty, tenor, and credit quality that is required by investors. And you cannot, frankly, you cannot mobilize. I don't think you can mobilize long-term capital. We are talking about billions of euros or dollars on the back of aspirational contracts. So this becomes very, very difficult if we don't have clear offtake agreements. The second thing I would like to talk about is the mismatch that we have between the capital needs and the available capital. We are talking about projects that require billions of euros and dollars, and they require this capital for long-term tenors. We are talking about projects that are structured over 20, 25 years tenors. And what we see in our region, at least, is that lenders, commercial banks, are not acquainted and rarely can lend for these types of tenors. I mean, more than 20 years. Especially that we're talking about a nascent industry with some technology risk that is there. And also, the problem that happens is that I'm not talking about all developers, otherwise they are going to be very mad at me, but some developers do not have the balance sheet to close the gap that is left by the fact that you need to go and find this capital. And the last point that is also important is that local capital markets are still shallow and shivery about this type of risks and cannot take them. Nor can they take the size and the scale of these projects. At least I'm talking about Morocco. The third one I would like to talk about is the FX risk, a very important one. What we have seen, at least from experience, is that during the project development phase, most of the capital expenditure, if I can call it like that, is done in local currency, while the capex is going to be in euros or in dollars. So this creates an FX risk that if is not handled and managed through risk mitigation strategies, hedging strategies, and guarantee scheme, can make the risk premium unbearable and unmanageable for the bankability of projects. Last point I want to talk about, and then I will hand the mic, is the execution risk. The execution risk is often underestimated. You can tell me that it's not a financial barrier, and you are right, it's not a financial barrier. But it has a direct impact on the bankability, indirect impact on the bankability of projects. When I'm talking about execution risk, I'm talking about securing the land, which is crucial for these types of projects that necessitate a lot of land. I'm talking about permits. I'm talking about interconnections between the different infrastructures when they exist. So this, for me, is often underestimated, but is a these are fundamentals, and if they are not met, there is no financing discussion that can start with commercial banks. These are fundamentals that need to be very clear so that they can de-risk the project and can move it to the next stage. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Amin, for your point of view on the 4 main points and difficulties when it comes to financial barriers preventing P2X projects from reaching commercial scale. I would like to get into the discussions with you, but I've been told I have to stay partial. I'm supposed to be the moderator and not entering into the discussion. So I would like to ask Miriam your point of view on the question on financial barriers.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. I think Amin has summarized the most important risk. I would like maybe to add the 2 others that are, in my point of view, quite important. The first one is related to the massive investment requirements, because when we are talking about the CapEx, the intensity of the CapEx, we are not talking only about the plants itself. We are talking about the whole ecosystem we need to develop around. I'm thinking mainly to the storage capacity that are needed to be developed, the transport infrastructure, mainly the pipelines, the shipping infrastructures to ship, the ammonia and the methanol. So as well as the importance of the infrastructure of renewable energy, not only for the production, but also for the connections. We need to increase the capacity of the grid, the existing grid, but also to reinforce its capacity. So these investments are very important in terms of CapEx, but the question is who will pay for this common infrastructure while the demand is not effectively materialized. Another obstacle or risk I can mention is the lack of a stable and long-term regulatory and framework which creates financial uncertainty. If I want to illustrate, with just a simple example, is just the definition of green. There is no one single universal and legal binding definition of what is what constitutes a green hydrogen. Is it the additionality of renewable? Is it the matching hours? Investors fear to invest massively now, and their project tomorrow will no more match the green criteria. So for me, the stability of the regular standardization, the stability of the political framework, the regulation and the framework. What we are also facing now in terms of trade tensions, the geopolitical problems make the markets, can disturb the markets and make, the appreciation of both investors and developers, quite hesitant in terms of their commitment in long-term buying contract, offtake contract.
Thank you. Let me get Audrey from the European Investment Bank into the discussion. I would like to ask you, how can long-term demand signals and policy improve the bankability of green hydrogen and its derivatives?
Thank you, Janne. Thank you to our partners for hosting us. I work at the front office at the European Investment Bank. I'm very happy to contribute to this forum that we sponsor for the second year. Janne, your question is really linked to a concept deeply rooted in human nature, which is confidence. Bankability of projects depends on confidence in demand, in policy, and in partnerships. When all these align, projects do move forward, and that's why we are here in this panel of bankers to show you how finance can really provide this confidence. We have seen that this can work in our portfolio of 2 billion euro of projects that we have at the EIB that financed green hydrogen projects all over the world. Now, if we come back to demand, demand is two-sided, internal, external. First, internally. We need to promote internal demand for green hydrogen. For that demand, we need clear incentive for industrial decarbonization. For instance, in Europe, Europe provided a strong signal with the CBAM, which has already demonstrated how industry can raise up its climate standards at a very rapid pace. On the external front side of the demand, Europe will also play a key role, and this is a huge opportunity for Morocco. Europe has committed to import more than 10 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030. So this is, in terms of example of a stable framework, we have the Low Carbon Hydrogen Act. This is actually something that provides a definition for green hydrogen. This is the world's first comprehensive regulatory framework for green hydrogen. It's a game changer. It connects supply and demand, creates market pull, and sends a strong signal to investors. Now, here in Morocco, I have been involved in projects here for over 8 years. We have seen at the EIB very promising projects. Of course, I will not repeat how much potential has Morocco. But these projects still face regulatory gaps, missing offtake agreements, and lack of stakeholder alignment. What's needed now are large-scale reference projects co-developed with Moroccan authorities and backed by EU support. This will create the confidence I mentioned earlier. The EIB is here to play a key role as the EU Climate Bank to support those reference projects. I will end by saying that to match long-term policy, long-term demand, we need long-term investors. And the EIB and I guess all the other development banks will be here to keep ensuring that financing will be available beyond market cycle.
Thank you very much. Ashraf, I would like to ask you to add your point of view to this question.
Merci, Jana. Thank you for your question. It's quite tough to address it. We spoke about long-term predictability, and I think all of us, we agree that we are really evolving and navigating in the very versatile, unpredictable world, actually. But we need to start from a point and continue to push this agenda. When we look at the demand side, and we all agree also that long-term off-take contracts are critical for bankability of projects, but there is a mismatch, there is a gap. And how can we bridge this gap? I think in French we will say, on ne va pas inventer la roue, we will not create again the wheel. We have seen some effective solutions, effective instruments in other sectors. And again, we are speaking about a nascent sector, green hydrogen, but we have experienced already, all of us, some instruments that have been effective. And to bridge this market gap in terms of long-term offtakes, and to reduce the risk of price volatility, we can consider contracts like contracts for difference, CFD. CFD worked well on transport sector to manage traffic volatility in airports and toll roads. We have also seen, and this morning we spoke about this double action, so we have already tried to implement, when I say I'm not speaking only about the African Development Bank, but all the lenders, all the stakeholders on in this area. We have also seen that CFD can work. We have seen it in Germany, in UK, to manage the risk of price volatility. It will incentivize the off-takers to sign long-term contracts and to improve bank predictability. Other side also to address this issue of demand that Amin has raised is the what we call to put together what kind of aggregation of demand, to create a platform of aggregated demand, so we can pull together the demand of African fertilizer producers, mining companies, but also European importers interested in. And when we bring all these off-takers together and create this kind of pool for demand platform, we can also come together as lenders, as development financial institutions, with what we call enhanced credit platform guarantee. And it works for some sectors. When we look at Africa fertilizer financing mechanism, it works pooled demand with guarantee. This will allow to bring economy of scales. This will allow also to improve, for sure, bankability of projects and reduce the counterpart risk. And at the end, in terms of also managing to improve predictability of demand and the policy side of it, it's good to bring money, project finance, but when we look at what we are doing now, we have various panoply of instruments like the development policy loans that allow us to engage with the policy makers, with the governments, and we can link this kind of policy loans, budget support, to policy actions related to a hydrogen project. We all heard this morning about the importance of regulations, the importance of stability of regulations, and we can also work with governments on fiscal incentives, on certification standards, as well as other aspects in terms of policy decisions through budget support. So we need to leverage on this synergy between bringing money, helping to accelerate the project to make them bankable, and the other side of the story from the government side. And this will show the developers that there is a stability of regulation, but also the DFIs are working together along with the government, along with the developers. That's what I would say though. So aggregation of demand, quite sophisticated instrument, and engagement with the government. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask also Ian to contribute his opinion to the question of how can long-term demand signals and policies improve the bankability of green hydrogen projects.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back in Marrakesh, and congratulations to the organizers of this great event, the summit. Much has been said, so I'll try not to repeat too much, even though we must be aligned on certain topics because they sort of are of our joint concern. These long-term demand signals and also the regulatory clarity and environment are super important for bankability, as my colleagues have said. And I think it makes sense to look at this at 3 different levels. There's, to start with, the global level, which is a quite fragmented, diverse picture at the moment, because we have some formally strong partners that distance themselves from the market a bit, and where we can't really expect these strong signals as much. if I'm not corrected over the next months, but that's an expectation, I guess. But then there's also strong players we've seen for quite some time out there, India, China, offering strong environments, frameworks, incentives for the sector, and also driving technology to a large degree. Then, and that's important for Morocco because of the proximity and the opportunities lying in that proximity, there is, of course, the European level, the more regional level. And there we see a lot of good frameworks coming up, good signals coming up. The CBAM was mentioned, RFMBO was mentioned earlier. There's also the discussion which I'm quite curious to see pan out around blending quotas, for example, for ESAF. And I think these will send really strong signals to the market and give a certain clarity and a certain bankability boost, let's say. Important, I believe, and that might be some advice to my own fellow Europeans, important will be that these new regulations, especially the blending quotas, also come with sanctions if people are not people, if companies and buyers are not compliant. Because without these, the overall regulation won't send the strong signal the market needs. So I'd advocate also for, to some degree, not listening too much to lobbyists trying to advocate for the status quo. And then, of course, there's the local level here in the country that interests all of us. And there, of course, we have the Offer Maroc, which will provide a good framework. And we have strong signals also from ambitious but credible investment programs like OCP's Green Investment Program and Hydrogel sort of serving as a front runner. And I'm saying that because obviously a fund that we use, the WorldPtX Development Fund, has just signed a grant agreement with Hydrogel this year, and it is only one of two players that already have signed an agreement with us. So I can really say out of conviction that this group is a front runner in the overall global approach that we see. So I'm very ambitious despite seeing different signals from the market which have shown a certain slowdown. So thank you so far.
Thank you very much. I think definitely what is important is reliability and a stable regulatory framework. This is, I think, one of the issues we discussed. We heard in earlier panels that local value creation is for the different countries who have a great potential of producing green hydrogen is always a very important topic. Now, from a financial point of view, I would like to ask and I would like to pose the question towards Amin. How can emerging markets ensure access to competitive financing while maintaining local value creation and energy security?
Well, when I look at Morocco's early Power-to-X journey so far, the real objective here and the equation really that we need all to, be it Moroccans or is about how you create the right conditions and right momentum for capital to flow to Morocco while keeping value in Morocco. That's the equation that we need to solve basically. And few examples come to mind because we need to talk a little bit also about the lessons from the past. A few examples pop in our mind. We can talk about Noor solar program. It wasn't just a single plant, actually. It was a program. It was a whole program, a national pipeline of projects, and that were launched by Mazen. And that visibility and this pipeline gave a signal, a strong signal to investors, international ones, that they are not coming to Morocco for a one-off project, that they are coming for a pipeline of projects that are coming and that they can be ensured that they will have enough business to carry in the country. So this is very important because when you have this type of programs, it creates local content for the country. I can explain that because for the Noor project, for example, there was a lot of local content created. A lot of Moroccan companies worked Sometimes we are not talking about the heavy equipment, but they worked on civil works. They worked in engineering services. They also provided some part of the equipment. So this created hundreds of jobs, which is very important for the country. And we kept some of the value in Morocco. So this is important. Some lessons can be learned from that and can be perhaps duplicated to some extent to the hydrogen industry. Also, these projects are not only creating electrons and molecules. They generate jobs. They are supposed to generate jobs, skills, and supply chains that anchor the transition locally and that can benefit to the country at the end of the day. So the same spirit, we can see it, and I can talk about it a little bit. I think that my colleague Naufal Al-Fadil already talked about it during his speech, very, and went into the details of it. There was a part of local content that was very important in the selection of the different investors that were selected for the first phase for the preliminary contract for land reservation. And that part is very important because it brings value to the country, and it is important to have it, even if without, again, we need to create value and keep it home, but we should not make it a burden, too much of a burden for the international developers. So that's also another equation that needs to be solved. Thank you.
Thank you for also pointing out that there's a whole, basically, different value chain from the beginning to the end of a project, of a green hydrogen project. Ashraf, could I also hear your opinion on this?
In the question, there is emerging markets and competitive financing. So,
yes, how can emerging markets?
It's 1 billion questions, even more than 1 million questions. No, it's really the 1 billion. Since you are speaking about big projects, so on this point, we also agree that in emerging markets, the high risk premium are penalizing the countries. Allow me to speak from the perspective of the African countries. And we have seen that with the same given rating, a project in Africa has to pay up to 200 basis points, sometimes more than the other regions. And it can bring us to the discussion about is it the risk or is it the perception of the risk? And this is a big debate, so I don't think that we have the time for that. But I would like to invite you to look at the Moody's Analytics assessment, which is online, that has assessed for 14 years period the risk of default on infrastructure project globally. And guess what we found? Africa is the continent, is the region with the lowest default risk. So we need to ask about this risk perception. But let's take it as a given situation, and how can we manage it? We can lower the cost of the capital. Indeed, we need to attract it at effective and competitive pricing. We can lower the cost of capital through deploying risk-sharing instruments, and this is something that we are also through different panels, we spoke about this risk sharing. We can look at it from the political side. So instruments like partial risk guarantee to manage the interference of political interference in the decision of investment. So we can deploy, along with the other partners, this kind of partial risk guarantee on the political aspect. We can also deploy the credit partial guarantee to manage to extend the commercial investors' tenors, because there is also this mismatch between the power, the hydrogen offtake contracts 20, 25 years and more, and the tenor of some of capital up to 15 years. So kind of partial credit guarantee could allow also to extend the term. This is part of the how can we manage the risk. The other aspect is related to how can we keep in country the value and create local value creation. And again, some instruments are laws for us when we speak about sustainability-linked loan, SLL, and the offre du Maroc related to hydrogen is also speaking about that. So we can bring SLL on the table and to ask off-takers. We can lower a bit the cost of capital if the off-takers succeed in achieving some targets related to employment, related to technology transfer, related to also procurement from local providers or African providers. So these things can be deployed, sustainability-linked loans. And at the end of it, also we spoke about energy security, and it's important to keep the value in our countries. It's important also because we are not only in the development path, we have to avoid speaking about exportation, a fixed revenue of exportation, but we need to think about industrialize our countries, the African countries, because this is what will really create the value, industrialization, and to bring the added value in the countries. And finally, in terms of domestic integration of this kind of big project, we can, when we are involved in early stage of project, and this is really a call for the developers, for the other lenders, bring the developed financial institutions in early stage, because it will help to design the projects differently, to take into account other aspects than the returns and the security, and it can bring stability of regulation, but also the sustainability of the project. So integration in the domestic market can be designed through considering a kind of dual offtake, a local off-taker and external off-taker, and we can consider bringing some concessional loans to the national side of the demand. This will allow to balance between FX revenue and energy security for the countries that the projects are developed in. So these are my 3 points related to the question that you bring: risk, sustainability-linked loans, and the dual of track. Thanks.
Thank you. Ashraf, you already touched on the mechanism for de-risking and to share risk. Now, I would like to address Audrey. What types of risk-sharing mechanisms are needed to de-risk early projects and to accelerate capital deployment globally?
Thank you. Climate transition is a race against time. We need a smart financial architecture. I think that's why we understand here from all panelists. There is no time for competition, but only for cooperation. At the EIB, de-risking projects, it's in our DNA. We have a toolbox of financial tools to make early stage hydrogen projects viable, scalable, and attractive to investors. Blended finance is one of our most effective tools. By combining grants from the EU or other donors with EIB loans, we reduce risks and improve bankability. We have also PPPs, which will be mentioned later on by Miriam. In those, EIB usually co-finances the public side, and private partners will bring the capital. We work on green bonds. The EIB was the first bank to launch in Europe green bonds, and we are very excited to explore how to launch them in Morocco. These bonds attract long-term investors. We have guarantees, it was mentioned earlier. We partner with national promotional banks and the European Commission to provide partial risk coverage and de-risk projects. This allows to unlock private capital, which might have been otherwise stay on the sidelines. We are also involved in equity investments through the European Investment Fund. We invest directly in hydrogen startups. Finally, and this is a topic I really like, technical assistance. To attract investments, projects must also demonstrate how they raise social and environmental standards, especially if the ambition is to export. Through technical assistance, the EIB provides grants for project preparation, including support on the environmental and social safeguards. Now, these tools are not just theoretical, they have demonstrated results. We have just approved Latin America's biggest green hydrogen fertilizer project in Paraguay. It's 100 megawatt electrolysis. It is also how we have financed nearly all public sector projects in Morocco in the energy sector, which paving the way for green hydrogen development. Not only through MOUs, but through real loans and investments. Just a few months ago, we signed the financing of 170 million euro with ONE to reinforce the electricity network. This is a key investment to absorb new renewable energy capacity, including green hydrogen capacity. Now, I would like to end where I started. Confidence, long-term view, and cooperation. Banks are here to give confidence, but we also need to cooperate even more. In the last example I mentioned, the EIB loan was signed under Mutual Reliance Initiative. This is a key mechanism of Team Europe, through which EIB took the lead, but not only the lead, also the full responsibility over procurement and environmental aspects. These are the types of models we need to replicate for green hydrogen. They create efficiencies amongst banks, we share the work, and build up the confidence that the market needs. To understand better how Europe and its institutions can play a key role, I would like to invite you very much to attend to two side events in which EIB colleagues Adrien de Bassompierre and Ayman Mohamed Moumen will take part. So we have this afternoon TMED and tomorrow MED-GEM.
Thank you very much, Audrey, also for pointing out Mutual Reliance Initiative. It was a pleasure also for KfW to work with you and the EIB on the loan. Miriam, I would also like to ask you on risk-sharing mechanism needed to de-risk early projects from your point of view.
I think that the question of de-risking is quite critical because it's what will help us move from the demonstration scale to the commercial one. And in my point of view, I believe that the de-risking project requires a collaborative ecosystem where each part will manage or take the risk that it can manage the best. You are talking about partnership. There is two types of partnership. There are the industrial ones and the financial ones. For the industrial ones, I mean the partnership in industrial side can help mitigate the risk. I'm thinking mainly to the vertical integration that we may have in different infrastructure project, when, for instance, you have the off-taker and the developer that structure both. I mean, one single project when you have the off-taker that can take, minority part stake in the capital, which gives some comfort for the investors and lenders. You have also other kind of vertical integration to mitigate the technology risk when you have, for instance, the energy technology provider with the with the EPC, for instance, where, I mean, their alliance can also help reduce the technology risk and the risk of performance. The other type of partnership is the financial one. Audrey talked about it. I mean, it's the relationship we need to have with the development bank, both national and international. Those development bank, I mean, can bring capital, patient capital, liquidity enhancements, partial guarantees, I mean, blended finance. I mean, there's a lot of mechanism and tools that can be structured to mitigate different risks and try to attract commercial bank, and especially help them position their offer in long tenors and with the competitive price. It's also important, I mean, as a CDG Capital, we are mainly an important actor in the capital market to talk about the importance of the capital market, Moroccan capital market, which is quite deep. We have historically, I mean, the interest rates are very low, and we have, I mean, this liquidity to finance and to position ourselves in the, I mean, in the Power to X initiative. And another point which is important, in addition to the instruments and the tools, is the necessity for this, I mean, type of projects that are important in terms of scale and complex technical complexity to structure tailor-made solutions that take into consideration the different specific risk profile of the project. And we as CDG Capital, I mean, we are used to, I mean, to structure this kind of financing for infrastructure mainly. We did talked about the green bond. We were in the national market, the first bank that structured the first infrastructure green bond in the Moroccan market. And this kind of structuring is something that we are used to. So we'll be very pleased at CDG Capital, I mean, to take part, I mean, for the structuring and be involved in this Power to X initiative so that we can help make, I mean, the project more bankable and attract private investors.
Thank you very much. And I would like to wrap up the panel with also asking Ian to bring to the table KfW's point of view on de-risking mechanism.
Yes, thank you. Well, effective de-risking can have many forms. Obviously, there's financial partnerships, which I might focus on because I represent a German development bank, but there's also public-private partnerships, there's industrial consortiums, there's research collaborations which are really important, especially on the industry side. And coming from Europe and Germany, I see very strong players in Europe and Germany on the developer side, on the side of technology providers, and also on the side of ultimate off-takers. And today, these meet strong Moroccan players. I've mentioned a couple earlier, I don't want to go too deep into that. But these are really important, and there's a lot of opportunity in there. And we do have, on different levels and at different points of time, instruments that might finance these consortiums, these relationships, these developments. As per financial partnerships, I come from KfW Development Bank, which is part of a larger banking group. And first and foremost, we are the partner for German Financial Corporation. And there we offer a large scope, a certain number of instruments, starting with the financing of studies, also looking at technical assistance to build capacity. We'd be able to provide development loans and also promotional loans. And then we have special vehicles, let's say, special instruments that fund the sector directly, the green hydrogen and PTX sector. For example, we have the PTX Development Fund, which invests in 7 promising countries where we expect a strong market ramp up for the sector. Morocco is one of the 7. There's Brazil in there, there's India in there. But Morocco and Egypt were the first 2 ever to sign a grant, which is, I think, quite an achievement. So those are the instruments we at German Economic Cooperation and Financial Cooperation could offer. And as we came in here very early, which I believe was quite a brave move a couple of years ago, I'm happy to say we're still here. We're here today, and we're here to stay. And as Mr. Rau this morning for the German government said, we're fully committed to support the sector. But financial cooperation is only one side of KfW's offer as a group. We have established the PTX platform where we bundle different instruments of KfW Development Bank. We would have us as financial cooperation, but we would also see in there members of the banking group like DG, which finances private companies and private-driven projects, and we would also finance. We would also offer finance from EPEX, an institution that looks at mid and long-term financing instruments for import and exports, for infrastructure, energy projects, and I'm happy to say that my colleague from EPEX is also here and will speak tomorrow, so there's probably a good opportunity to get some more insights on that side of our offerings. To cut a long story short, we're here, we're happy to have discussions on the respective instruments that we as a group can offer, and I much look forward to discussions that we might have over the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I couldn't find better final words for this panel. Thank you very much for my colleagues for this very interesting discussions, and I'm sure I speak for everybody. We are here for today and tomorrow, happy to continue the discussion during the day, during the evening, and I think we can say applause for everybody contributing to this panel. Thank you very much. I'm supposed to hand over the moderation for the next panel, but please, maybe to be honest, there is a Cornelius. I'm supposed to hand over the moderation for the next panel. I hope he's here. Otherwise, I could continue without knowing really who is on this panel.